What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Stella Herself podcast, the podcast where we enlighten ourselves and, what do I usually say? Where we learn how to better ourselves to create a better world. Thank you so much for tuning in this week, y'all. I wanted to make a quick announcement before we get started that my Patreon is up and running. So for $5.99 a month, you can have access to ad-free episodes as well as exclusive episodes, and in the future, because I do have some things coming up, there will also be things such as merch discounts and exclusive content and things like that. So if you guys want to support, that would mean a lot to me. No pressure, but yeah, I was like, it's time I finally get the ball rolling on this. So for our first topic today, y'all, I just really wanted to dive right in. I'm sure you saw or heard about the Bumble ads that were kind of against celibacy. This ad literally had a guy and a girl, like obviously a couple, and then it said, "A vow of celibacy is not the answer." And then there was another one that said, "Thou shalt not give up on dating and become a nun." And people were very outraged by it. They have spoken out. Bumble has spoken out since. And like, I was just looking this up to make sure I had all the facts straight, but they apologized, and then they said that they would offer the advertising space to the National DV Hotline, among other organizations, and donate money. So I guess, like, did they do that? But they were like, we were just trying to be funny, like, and I see where they were coming from in the sense of, that's what people always say when they're frustrated by dating. Not always, but like, that is something people will say. Like, I'm just never gonna have sex again. I'm gonna be abstinent, I guess. Like, haha, but it's like, But I see how it was kind of, they weren't like fully thinking about how people would take that, because okay, honestly, in real life, y'all, in real life, not in your little Twitter community, Instagram community, I would say Tumblr, but are y'all even on that? Not online. In real life, I don't think celibacy is like a trend. I don't think it's like, I think more women than before are maybe choosing that, but I think it's very, like, just side note, I think a lot of people need to stay in reality and realize that a lot of the times you're in a bubble online, and so it can seem like everybody's doing something and that something's like a new widespread trend, and it's true, like, trends can spread a lot quicker now and ideas can spread a lot quicker thanks to social media, but like, go out in the real world, like, go down the street, y'all, like, go out in public, and most people are not being celibate, So I think it was interesting that they chose to do that, and that it definitely started a conversation, but that's not like some insane thing that they did that, like, people were so outraged. It's like, oh my god, like, it's not that serious. Like, people say that all the time, and I'm not defending them, because I do think they should have thought that through a little bit more and been a little more hip to the trends and, what people and women are talking about. And I think specifically since Bumble is an app that was more targeted towards, like, being for women, like, Bumble is the one, if you didn't know, that women had to message the man first. I have never used Bumble. I just don't really like dating apps in general, which we're going to talk about that after. But yeah, they did say at least that they would remove the billboards. So let me know what you thought about that. I think it's very interesting that, in certain spaces, I don't want to say overall, because I don't think it's overall. Like, look at the amount of girls crying over their situationship that won't call them back, like, that are willing to go to his house for a booty call at 2 a.m. Like, it's not like a widespread trend, I think, at this point at least. I think some women are talking about it more than before, but like, I don't know, and I could be wrong, but I just kind of feel like in general, like, just talk to anybody. I do think it's very interesting, like, if you're in my generation, we kind of grew up after the era of teen pregnancy. Throughout the 2000s and the 2010s, sex ed was a lot more mainstream, and there was just a lot more information out there and accessible information. Teen pregnancy rates went way down, teen drug use, and all of these things because we were just more informed about them, and education was more prioritized rather than like, ew, that's dirty, we don't talk about that. Obviously, that still existed and exists, especially in more states than some states more than others, I feel. But it is true that education is, so important in preventing unwanted pregnancies, teen pregnancies, and, STDs. Because if you don't know, especially if you're a kid and, you're going through puberty and, like, you're, going through these changes and wanting to do things and you have your first boyfriend, whatever, it's like you're going to want to try these things. But if you don't know what things are, things can happen. And so I feel like because of that, we kind of grew up in this era that was very sex positive and, like, I'm gonna reclaim, my sexuality, my womanhood, like, it's okay for women to have sex, and, like, da-da-da, Amber Rose's slut walk, which I'm only thinking of that because I just saw a headline that, like, oh, she's voting for Donald Trump even though he's an abuse. But I think what that messaging failed and fails to recognize is that men don't see it that way. A lot of, like, straight men, a lot of the men that these women are choosing to have sex with, it's like you think you're being empowered by, like, oh, I'm choosing to do this. And maybe in some instances you are, but I think overall, a lot of the times women are just kind of giving themselves up too freely. Trigger warning. To these guys that aren't really deserving, and then you have to look at things such as the orgasm gap and just how men are and patriarchy and how men view women, and it's like, yeah, you think you're making one decision, but really it's like it doesn't really have anything to do with that. So for example, I remember, like, back in the day, y'all remember I used to make so many videos like girl talk, sex Q&A, like all these things, and it's not like I was, like, having a lot of sex at the time or anything like that, but it's just, like, I was so into, yeah, let's talk about something that's taboo, let's break the stigma, let's make this easier to talk about for other girls and women, and it's okay for women to talk about this and, whatever. But it just honestly, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's, like, how people are gonna take that, and they're just, majority of people aren't going to take it that way. I just have specific memories, like, in 2017 when me and Sonia first lived together, and not to, like, throw her under the bus because I don't really know her thoughts on the subject, but I just remember, like, we were always pretty open in talking about this, and especially just being girly pops, you're gonna, like, talk about things like that with your girly pops, and, like, sometimes we would have these conversations with, like, bros we were friends with at the time, or that we were just hanging out with, and, like, we would start talking about sex, like, not in a sexual way, but just kind of in, like, a, I don't know, like, discussion way. And I just watched a lot of people on YouTube, like, other women on YouTube that would talk about it. So for me, it was very normal. But it's like, if you're doing that in front of these, like, 19-year-old bros, what do you think they're gonna think? They're gonna be like, oh, these girls, like, must be so horny, like, haha, like. And so I think it would kind of give off that vibe now, looking back. Which is unfortunate because it's like, yeah, we should be able to just, like, talk about something that's very, like, normal and natural, and it shouldn't be, like, this taboo thing. And I'm not saying it is, like, inherently a taboo subject, like, oh, women shouldn't talk about that. But I'm just saying you have to be aware of how other people are going to take that. The same thing for the sprinkle movement. It's like, somebody actually commented on my video about leveling up, and in that video I'm basically saying, like, yeah, like, I, like, I've been wearing things like flowy skirts and just dressing a lot more feminine and girly, and you just get treated a lot better when you do that and, like, do your hair and makeup and all these things. And someone was like, this is so sexist. And it's like, it kind of is, but it's not, like, it's like, what can it do for you? What can sexism do for you? What can patriarchy do for you? It's like, take advantage of the system. I forget who it was. I feel like they were on Ellen or something. I forget which actress or just someone in the industry was on, and they were talking about having a daughter and, like, feminism, and how they had to explain to their daughter, like, yeah, you can not shave your armpits if you want, like, it's your decision, but you just have to be aware of how people are going to take that and like how you might be treated, unfortunately, as a result of that. So you can't just blindly like, I don't know, just do something and then like be confused as to why you're getting certain results, like attracting certain kind of guys that only want you for sex or whatever. And then it's like, oh, I thought I was being like so forward, not like forward towards the guys, but like I thought I was being so innovative. Or like my friend and I have talked about this too. I used to post a lot crazier pictures on Instagram, like ass out, like bikini, like just very suggestive poses. But like I didn't think it was suggestive. Like I was just like, yeah, I look hot, like and it's like, yeah, and then you wonder why that's all people think of you as, or you keep attracting the same kind of guy that kind of just wants you for that and like isn't taking you seriously. And that's how you're coming across. And so you just have to weigh all of these things, you know, mentally, because you can't control someone else's reaction. And then if you're getting frustrated, like, why these guys treat me bad, or why are people weirded out by me, or whatever, it's like, well, you're kind of making choices that are, you know, having that reaction. It's like, you can do whatever you want, but you just have to be aware of how majority of people are going to take it. And it's like, yeah, live for yourself. But I think when it comes to things like that, especially when it comes to sex and stuff, it's like, it's kind of weird to have grown up in this like, oh, independent woman, like, you know, I don't know, almost like Sex in the City, you know, like, yeah, women can have casual sex and like have their own careers and all that. And then now we're kind of in this like era where, and I'm not trying to come off as like conservative right now, because that's not like how I mean this literally at all. But I know it can kind of like, you know, it's like kind of a fine line where people start sounding a little like, we should go back to the 1950s. And it's like, that's not what I mean. But now to kind of be in this era where a lot of women are frustrated in dating and that men don't want to take the initiative. Men aren't really like true masculine men. A lot of women complain that men don't want to court them or properly date them, and they just are the booty call at 2 a.m, and men don't want to pay and all these things. And then it's like, yeah, it's weird because we kind of grew up like with that messaging of like, as a woman, you should be able to do it on your own. And then, you know, a lot of people have these marriages where both parents work and it's like a 50-50 relationship. They both pay bills, and then the woman is still frustrated, resentful, unhappy at the end of the day, and wishes that she made different life choices because she's still stuck with all the domestic labor. She still is the one who is mostly taking care of the kids. The dad is mostly just like the babysitter, like, oh, the fun parent, and like the woman has to actually raise the child and still work and pay bills. And it's just like, you have to kind of form your own reality. So with all this being said, how it ties into the Bumble ad, I think as a result of this, as a result of being fed up with casual hookups, and it's like casual hookups in and of themselves aren't like a bad thing. Like, you're not like a slut. You're not because you want to have sex, you know? It's like, you're a person, obviously. Like, if you want to do that, you want to do that. Shout out to the asexual community. But you know what I mean? Like, there's not something morally wrong with you. But because men categorize women in like this wifey or complete whore, like these categories, you're not even gonna really be treated with respect in a casual hookup. And then again, like the orgasm gap. So what are you really gaining? You don't even get an Uber there or back. You're not getting an orgasm. Like, what do you gain? And oh, I'm so empowered. It's like, no, you're not, because patriarchy. And like, if it was just like an actual mutual respectful experience, like, sure, do what you want, but it's like, you just have to think of how this is actually going to go. So a lot of women, I think, are choosing celibacy because they're fed up with that. And then it's like, yeah, a man especially doesn't really like deserve access to my body if he's not like benefiting my life and trying to make my life easier and like actually trying to stand out. And I love Shira 7 for just her messaging, you know, in her messaging that you need to put yourself first as the priority. Because I don't know if it's because I've just been researching this more and more, like aware of it and the content I consume, or maybe I'm just getting older, so more people are talking about it versus, you know, when you're younger, you're like, what are we doing this Friday night? Is Chad coming? You know, I don't like, just life gets more serious as you get older. Um, but I just keep hearing, from women that like, it's like, yeah, I love my husband and my kids, but secretly, I wish I never did any of this shit. I was getting my hair done and this lady started talking about her husband and like her kids, and she just kind of kept like, I could just tell she was like fed up with this man. Maybe they just had a fight or something, I don't know. Or maybe she just genuinely like is just fed up, but she kept saying these little things like, well, because he doesn't load the dishwasher right. And just kind of like basically how I think she literally said it's like having another child to raise. And I've heard girls say this about their boyfriends, it's like, yeah, well, I'm like his mom. Yeah, I just have to do it. It's like, stop. Stop. Put all of that energy back into yourself, because at the end of the day, he's not going to respect you for that. You're kind of emasculating him and treating him like a child. So as many benefits as he may be gaining, he's ultimately bottom line like not going to respect you. And a true healthy grown adult man would not respect you for that, because they'd be like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you living your own life? So casual hookups are a complete waste of time, a waste of your youth, a waste of your body, a waste of anything. And it's like, guys don't get tested. Guys are really just gross and disgusting. And it's like, oh my God. It's just like some men are just so like evil and gross, like genuinely evil. And I think especially all this stuff coming out, like, I'm not going to really get into it in this episode, but trigger warning, just the whole like Diddy stuff. It's like, and just all the examples of people like that, or even just in everyday situations with like men cheating on women and like just having no regard for the woman's like health, at the very least, like, and it's just crazy. Like, girly pops, I know you relate, like, we are not evil. I mean, obviously, like, there's evil women out there, but it's so crazy how common it is for a man to be literally evil. And I mean that, like, with the utmost, like, regard of the word. You're just kind of living your life. You're like, oh, does this guy have a red flag? Like, I don't know. Like, oh my God, is he gonna text me back? And so many guys are, like, just, it's like at the least, it's like they don't wash their sheets, they don't go to the doctor, they don't go to the dentist, they don't get tested, even though they're fucking everything in sight. At the very most, they're, like, abusive, like, and so it's just so, y'all, like, if this past year really taught me anything, like, real talk, it is that you just fully need to put all of your energy as a woman on yourself, and don't give anyone the benefit of the doubt, especially not a man. And when it does come to dating, you just really have to make sure that a man is truly there to benefit your life, make your life better, because so often they don't. And I think we take a lot of our like feminine charm and mystique and just like energy for granted because we're just used to it, and like men don't have that. It's just crazy, like, a woman's body throughout our lifespan, how much it changes, and then men just don't. And like a woman's intuition and just like how many things we can just feel and like know without truly like having to like see it physically, And it's like they don't have that. And I saw a TikTok that I just keep thinking about because it's so true, where she was like, when your boyfriend leaves your house or like a guy leaves and you just feel like, okay, I can like actually relax, and like your energy just kind of settles. And it's like they literally like will feed off of our energy. And so if you are in one of these relationships where you feel like you're just doing the most, where you kind of feel like you have to be his mom because he's not on top of anything, it's like you need to get out of that, because that's going to really drain you and hold you back in every way. Like, truly. You will feel so free. And it's like, yeah, at the most it could be a very like abusive relationship situation. But even just at the least, like, if you're just not satisfied, if you're bored, if you're like, I kind of feel like this guy's taking me for granted, or like, I deserve more, listen to that, because you do. And No guy is worth it. Like, truly, honestly. What can I do? Like, I'm gonna do a whole video or like episode, probably on my Patreon. I already have it planned out. Everything Shira 7 taught me, or the most important things Shira 7 taught me, and like how they changed my life. Because now it's like I'll see a cute guy and I'm just kind of like, I mean, yeah, cute, but like, what can he really do for me? You know, like, and if he's cute, it's like, okay, other people think he's cute. So it's like, what? So yeah, I think a lot of women are choosing celibacy because of these reasons of being fed up. And it's just like, ugh, get away from me. Like, and it's just kind of interesting that Bumble was not really aware of that at all. And it's like, why did you have to go after celibacy? It's like that ad was kind of stuck in the 2010s. Like, when we were still like, oh yeah, let's break out of this conservative, like, sex is bad thing. And like, be a slut, you know, like empowerment. And it's like, it would have probably hit back then and been like, oh my God. But now it's just like, why are you like not reading the room? A lot of you guys will ask me my thoughts on dating apps, and I really just don't believe in them. Like, I think so often the way you get them is the way you lose them. So why would I want a guy that's like on dating apps and they can't truly feel your vibe and be like, oh my God, you know? Because he's swiping through like a million pictures a day and he's just gonna choose whoever looks the best. Because y'all will complain. Like, girls will complain. Like, why did he ghost me? And it's like, he found someone probably that he's more attracted to or like that's better to him. It doesn't have anything to do with you, but it's just like, I think it hits a lot harder when you can meet someone in person and like seduce them, you know? Because they can actually like feel your energy and like smell you. There's not like, oh, is she a catfish? Is this a filter? Like, does she even look like that, you know? And people will just take you like more seriously, I feel. So that's another thing people will ask is like, okay, well, if you're not going on dating apps, where do you meet people? And it's like, you just have to go outside. And this is why it's so important for y'all to read that book, Talking to Strangers, or The Power of Strangers. Go where you would want to meet someone, and you have to think about the type of person you would want and go there. Because if you only meet guys when you're at the club or at parties, it's like, that's the kind of guy that's gonna be. And I know sometimes like, okay, well, I'm here too, and like, but if you really don't want to waste your time, it's like, just don't even go there. Oh my God, do y'all remember, like, I think I literally told this probably in a story time once. This was like years ago. But I met this guy at literally like a party at a bar. Like, it was like, you know, there was a DJ. It was like a cute little time, whatever. And I think he was in the like Marines or something, which since then, like, I have just seen the story, like, don't talk to a guy that's like in the military or like anything like that, because they're always like trying to get married really quick and they just are like cheating on you on Snapchat. So like, this guy literally had a Snapchat, like, oh my God. And so we went on a date and it was like such a fun date. We like did all this cute stuff in downtown LA, like kind of like touristy stuff. Like, we went to the thing at the top of the US Bank Tower and like, it was just cute. And then we end up going to this bar, and I swear to God, I mean, he said ex, but like, was he still in a relationship? Like, his girlfriend like called him during the date and the whole vibe shifted, and like, his vibe just got like super sad and like withdrawn, and it's like, oh my God, like, that was probably literally his girlfriend, like current, you know, like not ex. Or maybe it's like, yeah, maybe they broke up for like a day, you know? And then yeah, like, it was just so weird because he was like so into me before that, and then she called and the whole vibe changed, and then he was like, well, I have to like go, like, literally drop me off. I think I heard from him like a couple weeks later, and I can't remember if he like confessed to that or not, like if he was like, oh yeah, I got back with my girlfriend, or like, I can't remember if I just kind of like figured it out or if he said. But it was just so odd. Why was I telling that story about meeting guys out? It's like, I think another thing, going back to like how a lot of guys are so gross, I don't know, like, y'all, I just like don't really like to lie like that, but sometimes it's shocking just how much people lie, especially guys. And it's like, But once you know, you know, and so it's easier to spot. But then also sometimes it's shocking when they don't lie. So like a couple years ago when me and Sonia were just visiting New York, we were like doing a little bit of bar hopping after dinner. Where even were we? Maybe like the East Village. Like it was just a very busy arena. This guy is like walking towards me on the sidewalk and we just like lock eyes and he like comes right up to me and he's like, oh my God, like, can I get your number? And I was like, oh my God, sure. Cause he was like tall, cute. And I don't know what in me, y'all. I was even like a couple drinks in, but I was like, cause he texted me like immediately after cause we were just like, okay, bye. Talk to you later. And I was like, do you have a girlfriend? And he was like, oh, why? And I was like, oh. I was like, oh, so you do? Like, I was kind of trolling him. Like, the texts were so funny. I wish I could find them. But yeah, it's like, you're just giving yourself... Anyway, so I guess... meeting guys in person isn't that great either. No, but it's like, you have to just be selective of where you go. And, like, you just can't take anything seriously. Even, like, I know a lot of y'all like to be delusional. Do not be delusional over a man that you don't know or, like, that hasn't proven himself to you yet. But I say all of this not to be pessimistic. Like, I think the more women can focus on themselves and focus on building community and focus on our own passions and what we like to do and, like, just stop getting caught up in these, like, at the least annoying, at the most abusive and possibly lethal relationships with men, you know, I think that's what we need to focus on and we'll just be so much happier because, and I'm not saying like, oh, it's our fault, you know, I'm not saying that, but it's just like, I'm not like, oh my God, it's like the end of dating, like we just have to give up. I'm saying like, no, like this hasn't been working. There are these women that, you know, take the traditional path, get married, have kids, and then they're like so unhappy and hate their lives. How can we, you know, prevent that and truly be happy and live for ourselves? This also kind of goes into something else I saw this week. I was at the gym, and you know how the news will be on at the gym. There was this story that 35% of college students consider dropping out just due to stress alone. And I actually found the article, which I will link below. When I looked this up to try to find the article, a lot of articles came up from the past few years just about this. Like, mental health struggles are driving more college students to consider dropping out. And that's part of why I never finished my degree, is I was just dealing with so much anxiety at the time. It was such a struggle to just like even get up and go to class because I would just have so much anxiety. I couldn't concentrate. I would get like panic attacks and just have to leave class. And it, like, I was a very good student. Like, I never got under a B ever in my life. Like, I was very like a straight A student and it was like just so hard. And I think especially when you do kind of grow up, like, not to flex, but when you grow up like smart, there's like kind of this pressure on you to always, like, if you get anything under an A, it's like, oh my God, like, what's wrong? Like, so the pressure is really crazy, especially as you, like, you know, get into high school and then, like, get into college. You know, if you're used to being the star student in elementary and middle school, be always at the top reading group and stuff, it's like, that's a lot of pressure. And it's just also really crazy to see people struggle, you know, once they graduate college and enter the workforce and not be able to find a good job that they were told that they would have, because all these jobs are like, yeah, bachelor's degree and then 5 years experience. And okay, like, what do you do? Like an unpaid internship? And then it's like, you probably have student loans at this point, and it's just like, this system is not designed for people to be happy or to really succeed in the sense of being fulfilled, peaceful, passionate, you know, about what you do and like not stressed out. And of course, you know, that's not the case for everyone, but I do think it's a really big issue, and just, you know, seeing everyone complain about not being able to find a job, not being able to, like, you know, and they went to college and they did everything they were supposed to do and they're still struggling and not, you know, being able to even like get by because they have to settle for some like bullshit job. And sometimes it'll be like a bullshit job that you don't even need a degree for. And it's like, why did I go to college? And again, that's not the case for everyone, but I think it's the case for a lot of people. I think the point is there is no right path. And at the end of the day, you just really have to trust yourself, trust your gut, and do what makes you happy and what you feel will actually fulfill you. Because you can always find a way, you know? And I think so much of why people don't pursue their dreams or live the life that they want, most of that is due to like mental blocks and like fear and anxiety, which of course makes sense, but it's like you can do a lot despite the odds and despite your circumstances. You know, like if you really believe in yourself, you can push past so much and actually get to where you want to be and be fulfilled and be happy. And it's like, it's kind of interesting too. Let me know if you relate, but I feel like I'm starting to get to the age where like people start giving up on their dreams. Because, you know, life gets real. A lot of people, they start having kids or like we're just getting older. People are like, oh, well, it's like, it's too late. Like, oh, I'm almost 30 or I'm 30. Like, it's too late. I am not 30, okay? Disclaimer. Somebody told me my dark hair looks like, makes me look like I'm 35, which, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's like, let's not push it. And also, it's like, that's not an insult. Like, what the fuck? Let's like not lie, okay? You can do whatever it is that you want if you believe in yourself and are willing to put in the work. I was just live on TikTok before this while I was getting ready, and this girl was like, how do I find the motivation to like get up and like actually go after what I want? Like, I came home from work today and I just wanted to like stay in bed and chill. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense, especially if you're at a job that is very exhausting and even just like mentally exhausting. Like, ew, I don't want to be here. Of course, you're going to need, like, a mental, like, just, you're going to need to chill after that. But on the other hand, I do think we make time and we prioritize what's really important to us. So if you have a goal, whether it's a career goal, how you want your life to go, you want to lose weight, gain weight, whatever it may be, you have to get to the root of, like, what your fear is about that. Like, oh, maybe if I start trying, I won't actually achieve it and I'll have wasted time or I'll be embarrassed or like people will make fun of me or I'll lose everything, or, you know, you have to find the root of the fear and then kind of like go from there. Because I do believe in the force yourself method for short-term things. Like, you know, sometimes you just gotta be like, okay, bitch, get up, like drink some water, drink a coffee, like let's go. But I think for longer term, like overall, in general vibes, it's like you have to get to the root of your fear and face it and like address it and go from there. And I think a lot of life is just kind of unpeeling the layers, like Shrek. Because it's like, why am I like this? You know, why is anyone the way that they are? And just staying curious about yourself. And yeah, I saw this quote actually on Twitter that was like, if you erased all of your past mistakes, you would be erasing yourself. And it's so true. Like, all of your decisions in your life have brought you to this moment. So if you're not happy with where you are, like, you had some say in that. Like, not like, you know, you have to take, it's not like everything's your fault, but it's like, you know, so therefore you can now start to make decisions that are going to benefit you and lead you to where you need to be. So that is going to be it for this week's episode, you guys. Don't forget to join the Patreon if you're not already on here. And let me know your thoughts on anything I discussed today, and let me know what you want me to talk about next week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you guys next Thursday. Bye, everyone.